What is up, everyone? Let's have a real talk about the stock market. After the roller coaster ride we went through in 2024, it's totally normal to feel uncertain about what's next. But I want to share why I believe we could have a strong market balance by the end of the year. I know that sounds bold, but stick with me. I've got some good reasons to back it up. First, let's talk about the history. If there's one thing we've learned, it's that the markets are incredibly resilient. Remember the dot-com crash, the 2008 meltdown, even the pandemic freefall. Every single time the market has found its way back and then some. On average, the stock market grows about 8 to 10% a year over the longer term. After rough patches like 2024, the data often shows that rebounds aren't just possible, they're more than likely. Tom Lee, a well-known figure in the finance industry, head honcho of Fundstrat, said this about the December 20th dip.
Tom, we'll start with you. I take it you think this is a buying opportunity.
This is another buying opportunity in our view. 2024 has proven to be a year where the market's been strong and it has eluded many opportunities for sustained weakness. I know yesterday's pullback was really painful, but to us, I think the fundamental supporting stocks are intact, and I think it's a good opportunity for investors here.
He practically stated that every single time the market has experienced high changes in the VIX, we see the S&P 500 move higher by the next month.
But the VIX, the spot VIX, exploded by 75%. There's only 4 times in history where it's risen 60% in a day. So yesterday was the 5th time in its 35-year history. Of those 4 times, the market recovered all of its losses within a week, 3 out of the 4 times. The 4th time, it took a month.
Now it begs a question to ask. Could we see massive gains going into 2025 and closer to a Donald Trump inauguration? Now let's talk about inflation. We've all been feeling it at the grocery store, at the gas pump, everywhere. But the good news, it seems like it's finally cooling down. Central banks have been raising interest rates to get it under control, and we're starting to see the results. Lower inflation is a big deal. It means businesses can plan better, borrowing gets cheaper, and the economy can breathe again. These are all green light indications for the market to actually spiral and move upward. Now let's talk about my ideas going into the end of the year. First, start off with SPY. My ideology with the S&P 500 is very simple. We know that the market could have a potential bounce, and it kind of already shows that with the indication of buyers stepping in at that 583 spot. Ever since November the 18th, we've had buyers step in on that spot the second time after we first created that demand all the way back on November the 6th. So I am seeing a potential bounce here all the way up to the upside. So what does this basically mean for you? Every single time the S&P 500 has hit at around the 585 spot, we've had significant bounces to the all-time highs at around 605. So if I am a option buyer or if I'm looking to load in calls, I think this is a pretty bullish signal to show that buyers just off the daily standpoint are moving in to potentially move out into the 605 spot. Second stock on my list is going to be IONQ or IonQ. This is a very important stock that's been having huge momentums of the upside ever since they have releases of quantum computing and big partnerships with companies like NVIDIA. This stock is very simple. We're having huge run up with momentum. I see potential buying opportunities for there. If this were to dip all the way down to around the $28 range, I could see a lot of buying opportunities. One thing that I'm seeing overall on the daily chart is you can see a lot of selling occurring at that 45.37 spot all the way down to 41.72. So I know sellers have been very strong at this range. I'm not looking to potentially buy IONQ at the spot. I would much prefer to buy where buyers have been setting up at the range. One thing I noticed over here, they've been buying up and accumulating huge amounts of buyers at that 28.24 level. So I'm going to make sure I mark that spot from 28.24 all the way down to 32.95. I know buyers have been stepping in. Your eyes won't deceive you. Take a look at the chart, see where exactly buyers are stepping in. You can see it happen the first time on November the 26th. They bought the price from 28.64 all the way to 36.09. Second time in a row, they've accumulated and bought more buyers at that 28.71 spot all the way up. So I know if I'm looking for potential opportunity for me to load on IONQ, I would much preferably want to wait for this to dip all the way down to 29.18 first, because that's where we have accumulated base of buyers, aka known as a demand. Believe it or not, every single one of these markets are going to basically take a look at where exactly we can see potential buyers stepping in. You don't necessarily want to buy stocks at the top because you're just asking to get a rug pull, right? IONQ, there's a lot of people, analysts on the road that are saying that this could potentially reach $100 by the end of 2025. My guess for 2024 is going to be somewhere around the conservative point of $60. I think we could definitely hit that, especially when we're going through a very strong trend on the weekly chart. If you take a look at the weekly, we haven't really had any sell-offs. We've created a nice support base at that 28.24, but overall on the daily chart, this is having huge amounts of momentum. Though, be smart with it. I wouldn't want to necessarily buy this stock anywhere near around that 44 range. I'd look for a dip under 35. That'd be my next stop for IONQ.